Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a big one, really getting fluent and confident in English,
Yeah, that's a common goal, isn't it? So many people are learning, studying hard.
but still feel kind of stuck when it comes to actually speaking. It's frustrating.
Totally. You know the rules, you know words, but that jump to natural conversation,
Yeah,
that's the challenge.
exactly. So we got this transcript sent in from a YouTube channel, English Fluency Teacher.
Oh, okay.
The video is called B1, B2 English Listening. Improve your English skills by thinking in English. Lots in there.
Sounds useful. So what's our plan?
Our mission for this deep dive is to pull out the really practical stuff. Actionable steps, mindset shifts, things you can actually use to speed things up.
Good. Moving from just studying to actually speaking with confidence, like a practical guide.
Precisely. So let's jump in. The first point in the video, it might sound a bit simple, maybe. It's about belief,
Right. Believing English is easy. Step one.
which, if you're struggling, might sound a bit optimistic.
Maybe. But the idea is your mindset really affects how your brain even takes in the language. Thinking, this is impossible. Oh, that's an L.
It's like setting yourself up to fail, almost. The video uses learning to walk as an analogy. Babies fall constantly.
Yeah.
Like all the time.
Yeah, it's just part of it. You don't just stand up and walk perfectly first try.
But they keep going, right? And eventually, walking is automatic. The video connects that to making mistakes in English. They're not failures.
They're just steps.
Yeah.
Necessary steps, actually.
So the practical takeaway is affirmations.
Yeah, actively saying things like, English is easy, or I can speak English, I'm learning. Repeating them.
And why does that work? Is it just positive thinking or?
Well, it's partly about retraining that inner voice, shifting how your brain views the task, building that self-belief. It actually helps processing.
Oh, okay, I can see that. So you start building that belief.
Yeah.
What's next? Environment.
Step two, exactly. Creating an English-speaking environment. And the good news is, they say you don't need to move to the US or the UK.
That's a relief for many, I bet. It busts that myth.
Definitely. So, practical tips for home immersion. First one, change your phone language.
Simple. But you use your phone all the time.
Right. Constant exposure, menus, notifications. It all adds up. Low effort, high impact, sort of.
Smart. What else? Thinking in English.
Yes. Instead of thinking in your native language and then translating, which is slow.
Yeah, that mental gymnastics routine.
Try to just think the thought directly in English. Start small.
Like, I'm getting up, making coffee, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Narrate your actions in your head. It feels weird at first, maybe.
A bit strange, yeah.
But it cuts out that translation step. Makes thinking in English more automatic over time.
Okay. And then talking to yourself.
Yeah. This one sounds maybe the oddest, but it's brilliant.
Why?
Because there's zero judgment. You can practice out loud, have little conversations, work on pronunciation, all without worrying what someone else thinks.
In front of the mirror, maybe?
Sure. Or just while you're doing chores. It builds confidence in a safe space. You can even rehearse potential real conversations.
Right, prepare yourself a bit. And the last environment tip, labeling stuff.
Sticking labels on things around the house, refrigerator, book, window.
So you see the English word constantly.
Exactly. Visual cues, repetition. It makes English part of your physical world. Very effective for remembering vocabulary.
Okay, so we've got the mindset, the environment. What's the next big hurdle the video tackles? Grammar fear.
Step three, yeah. Stop worrying so much about grammar, especially at the start.
That's a big one. People freeze up because they're scared of making mistakes.
Totally. But the video points out, how do kids learn? They just talk.
Yeah, they communicate first. Understanding the rules comes way later.
Exactly. So the advice is prioritize communication, get your message across, use simple sentences first.
Like, I eat, she go, even if it's not perfect.
Well, maybe slightly better like, I am eating, she is going, they are playing. Simple, correct structures.
Okay. Focus on using the language simply.
Right. The video suggests this actually builds a better, more natural feel for the structure anyway. Fluency first, perfection later.
That makes sense. You can always polish the grammar once you're actually speaking more comfortably.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Which leads nicely into step four. Actively speak English in your daily life.
So taking those simple sentences and actually using them.
Yeah. Describe what you're doing, seeing, thinking out loud.
The video gave some good examples, didn't it?
It did. What stuck out to you?
The morning one was simple. Good morning, I feel great. Or in the kitchen, I'm making tea. This tea smells good.
Yeah, or at the market. Excuse me, do you have tomatoes? How much is this? Basic interactions.
Even with friends, like, hey, how's it going? Want to hang out? Just swapping in English phrases.
Exactly. It's about making it normal, weaving it into your day. And again, mistakes are fine.
Consistency over perfection.
That's the key. Just keep speaking.
Okay, so daily speaking practice. Then step 5 moves into pronunciation and confidence, right? They're linked.
Very much so. Better pronunciation often leads to more confidence, which leads to more speaking. It's a cycle.
A positive cycle, hopefully.
Right. And the core technique is listen and repeat.
But not just hearing, right? Actively copying.
Exactly. Copying the sounds, the intonation, the rhythm, how native speakers actually sound.
And crucially, the video says, speak slowly and clearly.
Yes. Dispelling the myth that fast equals fluent. Rushing often just leads to unclear speech.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Sometimes slower is actually easier to understand.
Much easier. So be deliberate.
Yeah.
Focus on clarity. And then there's the tip about recording yourself.
Ooh, the dreaded listen to your own voice task.
Huh. Yeah, it can be awkward,
Yeah.
but incredibly valuable for self-assessment.
How so?
You hear what others hear. You can compare yourself to native speakers, pinpoint sounds you need to work on. It's honest feedback.
Okay, makes sense. So listen, repeat, speak slowly, record yourself. That covers pronunciation basics. What about fear? Step 6.
Yeah, overcoming fear and hesitation. A huge barrier for many.
Definitely. The fear of sounding bad or making a mistake.
So the video introduces something called the 3-second rule.
3 seconds. What's the idea?
Basically, when you feel the urge or get the chance to speak English, just do it within 3 seconds. Don't overthink.
Ah, so less time for the internal critic to jump in?
Exactly. Less thinking, more speaking. It helps break that hesitation habit, builds momentum.
And reminding yourself that mistakes are normal.
Absolutely crucial. Even native speakers mess up sometimes. It's just part of talking.
Good point. Okay, now step 7. This sounds important. Think in English. The key to fluency.
That's what the video calls it. We touched on it with the environment stuff, but this really digs into the why.
Why is thinking in English so critical?
Because it cuts out the middleman, that mental translation process.
Right, thinking in language A, translating to English, then speaking. It's slow.
Very slow and clunky. If the thoughts are already in English, the words just flow out much more naturally, instantly,
So how do you start doing that? It sounds difficult.
gradually. The video suggests starting super simple. Just mentally name objects around you in English.
Bed, pillow, window, like that.
Exactly. Then build up to simple sentences in your head about what you're doing or seeing. I am brushing my teeth. The weather is nice today.
Like an internal English monologue?
Pretty much. It's practice for your brain. The more you do it, the more automatic it becomes.
Okay, that makes sense. A gradual buildup. So after covering all those foundational steps, the video then zooms in on pronunciation again, right? More detail.
Yes, exactly. Having laid the groundwork, it circles back to pronunciation as being really vital for that confident, natural sound.
Addressing the nervousness people feel about their accent, maybe.
Right. And reassuring people the goal isn't perfection, it's clarity, being understood.
Good distinction.
Hmm.
So what are the specific pronunciation techniques it gets into?
Well, the first one revisits listen and imitate, but with more focus.
How so?
Really active listening, tuning into podcasts, YouTube, whatever, focusing on the melody of the language, intonation, rhythm, how sounds link together.
Not just the words.
Not just the words, the music behind the words. Then pausing and really trying to mimic everything, tone, pitch, rhythm. It gave that example.
I want to go to the park.
Yeah, and how want to often becomes softer, like wanna, catching those natural reductions.
Okay, active mimicry. Got it. What's next?
Speaking slowly and clearly, again, it really hammers this point home.
Because people think fast is fluent.
But it often just makes pronunciation worse. So consciously slow down, especially when practicing. Focus on each sound.
Break down tricky words.
Yeah, syllable by syllable, and record yourself to check your clarity. Self-assessment again.
Seems like recording yourself is a recurring theme.
Because it works. Then tip 3, focus on specific problem sounds.
Ah, the ones that trip up non-native speakers.
Exactly. Like the teeth sound. The video explains the tongue position slightly between the teeth. Blow air.
Think this.
Right. Or the English R tongue pulled back, not rolled or tapped for many accents. Red, car, better.
And distinguishing L and R.
Putting out the different tongue placements, lake versus rake. Really drilling down on those specific mechanics.
Okay, targeted practice on tricky sounds. Then tongue twisters. Really.
Yeah. Step 4. They seem silly, but they're like gym exercises for your mouth.
How do I help?
They force your tongue and lips to move quickly between difficult sound combinations, improving flexibility and control.
Like, she sells seashell.
By the seashore. Or Peter Piper picked a peck. All those classics. Start slow, get the sounds right, then speed up.
Makes your mouth more agile, I guess.
That's the idea. Then, fifth technique, stress and intonation.
This feels more advanced, the rhythm of English.
Crucial for sounding natural. English is stress-timed. Some syllables and words get more emphasis.
So word stress, like de-easer versus desert.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Listen for the stress syllable in new words and copy it. The video suggests clapping on the stress to feel it.
Okay, and sentence stress.
Recognizing that key meaning words, nouns, main verbs, adjectives usually get the stress, while grammar words like a, the, to are often softer, quicker.
Like, I want to go to the store.
Precisely. Mastering that rhythm makes a huge difference to comprehension and sounding natural.
And the final pronunciation tip, let me guess. Record yourself.
You got it. It keeps coming back because it's so effective for hearing yourself objectively and tracking progress. Record, listen, compare, adjust, practice.
Okay, so a really thorough breakdown of pronunciation. After that, the video shifts again, doesn't it, to vocabulary?
Yes.
Yes.
Because great pronunciation needs words to work with, building that strong vocabulary for clear expression.
Tackling that feeling of, so many words, where do I start?
Right, and showing it can be manageable, even enjoyable. First tip, read every day.
A classic, but active reading, right?
Yes, not just letting your eyes scan. Highlight unknown words. Look them up, meaning and context.
How it's used in the sentence.
Exactly. And then this is key. Write the word down. Maybe create your own sentence with it. Like the example, serendipity. Really engage with it.
Makes it stick better than just seeing a definition.
Much better. Second tip, flashcards. Old school maybe, but effective.
Word on one side, meaning or sentence on the other?
Yep. Physical cards or apps, whatever works. The key is regular review. Daily, ideally. Active recall.
Forces your brain to retrieve the information.
And maybe add an image to the flashcard for visual learners. Helps link the word and meaning.
Okay. Third vocabulary strategy, learning in groups.
Yeah, thematic learning. Grouping words by topic like emotions or travel or food.
How does that help?
It builds connections. Easier to remember related words together, and you learn which word fits which specific situation within that theme.
So maybe a weekly list of 10, 15 words on one topic.
That's a great approach. Or grouping by word type, learn some verbs, then some related adjectives. Context is king.
Makes sense. Tip 4, actually use the new words.
Crucial. Memorizing isn't enough. You have to activate the vocabulary. Write sentences using the new word. Try using it in different ways. Then try to use it when you speak.
Even if it feels a bit forced at first.
Yeah, push yourself. Get feedback from teachers or language partners. Using it is what makes it truly yours.
Okay. And tip 5, synonyms and antonyms.
Right. Learning words with similar meanings, synonyms, and opposite meanings.
Antonyms. How does that help build vocabulary?
It expands your options, helps you choose the right word for the context, and deepens your understanding of nuances. Knowing different ways to say happy or big.
Gives you more flexibility.
Exactly. And finally, tip 6 brings it all home. Use everything in real conversations.
The ultimate practice ground.
The most important step, really. Talk to people. Use your new words. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
Or write stories, journal entries, actively applying the vocabulary.
Yes. Real application cements the learning. It moves from passive knowledge to active skill.
Wow, okay. So putting it all together, it's quite a comprehensive path, isn't it?
It really is. Starts with mindset, believing you can do it.
Yeah, then creating that environment, making English part of your world.
Prioritizing speaking, even simply at first, over perfect grammar.
Integrating it into daily life, consistently.
Then really focusing on pronunciation for clarity and confidence.
And systematically building that vocabulary you need to express yourself.
And underpinning it all is overcoming that fear. Just speaking.
Taking the plunge. It seems like consistency is the thread running through everything.
Absolutely. It's not about massive, heroic efforts, but small, consistent steps every day. Don't give up.
Okay, so for everyone listening, here's a final thought to chew on. We've covered a lot of ground, lots of tips from that video. Which one or two really resonated with you? What's one tiny thing, one small step you could actually do today, right after this, to put just one of these ideas into action?
Yeah, what's that first nudge?
What's that little change that moves you just 1 inch closer to speaking English the way you want to? Think about it and then we'll just do it. take that step.
You can definitely do it. You know that feeling when you understand some English, maybe you can follow simpler stuff, basic chats.
Mm-hmm.
But then maybe a different accent comes along, or you try watching a movie and it's like, it just doesn't click.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really common hurdle, I think. Learners hit this plateau where, yeah, general stuff is okay, but the faster speech, the different voices,
Yeah.
it gets tricky.
Right. Feels like your ears aren't quite tuned in. So that's exactly what we're digging into today.
And it's good we are, because having a clear strategy can make such a difference here.
Totally. So we're taking our cue from this excellent video by Speak English with Tefani. We're going to unpack her 5-step plan. It's all designed to really sharpen those English listening skills.
Yeah.
And the goal here isn't just, understanding more words. It's about building real confidence and, importantly, actually enjoying the learning process.
That enjoyment part is key, isn't it? Because if it feels like a chore, well, motivation just tanks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You won't stick with it.
This plan really emphasizes staying engaged, being active in your own learning journey.
Okay, so let's get a bird's eye view. Tefani's plan has 5 main steps. We're going to go through each one.
Okay.
First, find something interesting. Second, listen and mark timestamps. Third, listen again and guess.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth, figure out the context. And finally, fifth, listen one more time.
Seems straightforward enough when you list them like that.
Yeah, it does, but the real magic is how they interact, how they build on each other.
Right.
So let's dive into number 1. Find something interesting.
Right. And this first step is, it's pretty clever. It leverages what you already know. Tefani talks about how your brain has this sort of storage room already filled with words and concepts about your hobbies, your interests, but in your native language.
Okay, let's break that down. So the idea is, if you pick audio or video about something you're genuinely into,
Yeah, like cooking or tech or history, whatever.
then your brain can map the English onto concepts you already grasp. It makes the translation, that mental connection, easier.
Precisely. You're not starting totally cold. You've got this foundation, this mental framework already in place.
And being interested means you're naturally more motivated to understand, right? You want to know what they're saying about your passion.
Exactly. You're invested.
Tefani shares this really great anecdote, actually, about 2 students, Daisy, an architect, and Roberto, who works with Caterpillar down in Brazil.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part.
She saw them having this really confident chat in English about work stuff, challenges they face.
And the key was their existing knowledge, right?
Exactly. Their deep understanding of architecture or heavy machinery in their first languages gave them a massive leg up. They knew the concepts. They just needed the English words for them.
It shows how that subject matter expertise can almost act like a bridge between languages. They weren't just learning English words in isolation. They were applying them to ideas they already mastered.
Right. So takeaway number 1. Choose English content, podcasts, YouTube, whatever, about something you actually like. It helps your brain make connections right from the start.
Makes total sense. Okay, so what's step 2?
Step 2 is listen and mark timestamps.
Ah, okay. So this is about being active, but maybe not too active initially.
Yeah, exactly. You listen or watch, and you just quickly note down the time when things get fuzzy, when you don't understand.
That's the time.
Just the time. Tefani really stresses this. Don't try to write down the words. Don't pause and grab the dictionary immediately.
Right, because that can really bog you down. You lose the flow, get frustrated.
Totally. You end up stopping every 10 seconds and maybe give up before you even finish.
So the idea is to get through the whole thing first. Get the gist.
And just make these little notes, jot them down, as Tefani says, quick notes of the times you struggled.
Like a little map of the tricky spots for later investigation.
Exactly. So your notebook might just have, 1.05, 2.56, maybe 5.1. Something simple like that.
Got it. It allows you to experience the whole piece of content first.
Right, which leads us nicely into step 3.
Which is?
Listen again and guess.
Okay, so now we go back to those timestamps we marked.
Yep. You revisit just those specific little moments, the short sections, and this time you actively try to guess what's being said or what it means.
And focusing on just those small bits probably feels less overwhelming.
Much less. You've already heard it once in context. Now you're zooming in on the problem areas.
Makes sense. And you're trying to guess the meaning before looking things up.
Yes, that's the key part of this step. Engage your brain. Try to figure it out. Tefani gives some great examples of this process. Like she heard something that sounded like preek.
Preek, okay.
Which turned out to be prerequisite.
Okay.
And she explained it using that university course analogy. You need Chem 101, the prerequisite before organic chem.
That's a good analogy. And it shows how sounds can get kind of mashed together or reduced in natural speech. Prerequisite becomes preq.
Exactly. Your brain has to actively decode that. Another one was hearing on clad knife.
On clad knife. That sounds odd.
Right. It was actually on cloud nine.
Ah. The idiom, meaning feeling amazing.
Totally fantastic. Tefani said it makes her think of singing and dancing. It highlights how idioms aren't literal. You have to guess the figurative meaning.
Yeah, you can't translate those word for word. Guessing, based on maybe the speaker's tone or the situation, is crucial.
Then there was back on D-Day.
D-Day, like the historical event.
I sounded like it.
But it was back in the day.
Oh, right. Meaning a long time ago, in the past.
Yeah, she mentioned she teaches phrases like that on her Instagram. It shows how common everyday expressions can trip you up.
Definitely need exposure to that informal stuff.
What else?
Call fiber.
Call fiber, like internet connection.
Maybe. But no, it was all-nighter.
Oh, pulling an all-nighter, working or studying all night.
Exactly. She even gave the example phrase, I pulled an all-nighter. Again, words blurring together.
Yeah, pull an all-nighter becomes pull an all-nighter almost.
And the last one was sucked mic.
Sucked mic. Okay, I have no idea on that one.
It turned out to be zonked. Z-O-N-K-E-D.
Zonked, meaning really tired, exhausted.
Exactly. It's amazing how different the misheard sounds can be.
It really is. But that process of guessing, puzzling it out, that's where a lot of the learning happens, I think.
Definitely. Now, Tefani does point out, sometimes you guess, you try, but you're still stuck. You still have questions.
Yeah, that happens.
And that's actually where our sponsor, Cambly, can be super helpful. Cambly connects you with native English tutors from Australia, Canada, the U.S., UK people you can actually talk to and ask, hey, I heard this. What does it mean?
That direct interaction is invaluable for clearing up those confusing bits, especially idioms or slang.
For sure. And for our listeners, Cambly has a discount. If you use the code slightpause.heveryat, you can get 10% off a 1-month plan, 19% off 3 months, or even 32% off a full year. It's a great way to get that personalized help when you hit those listening roadblocks.
Definitely a good resource to have in your toolkit. Okay, so after guessing, what's next? We're on step 4.
Step 4, figure out the context.
Ah, the bigger picture. Because just knowing the word isn't always enough, right?
Exactly. Even if you correctly guessed, back in the day means a long time ago. You need to see how it's being used in that specific conversation.
Right. What came before it? What came after? What was the overall topic?
Tefani uses that back in the day example again here. She explained that in the audio she was using, the speaker was talking about like modern tech.
Okay.
Then compared it to older tech, and then started sharing childhood memories.
Ah, so the surrounding conversation, new tech versus old tech, then childhood gives you massive clues.
Precisely. That context makes it crystal clear that back in the day refers to the past, probably the speaker's childhood in that specific instance.
So it's about connecting the dots. The phrase doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Not at all. Context is king, really. It helps you link everything together and understand why something was said, not just what was said.
So you become a bit of a detective listening around the tricky part.
Yeah, listen before, listen after, think about the main subject that unlocks the meaning.
Okay.
Which brings us to the final step. Number 5.
Let me guess. Listen again.
You got it. Step 5. Listen one more time.
The whole thing again?
The whole thing. But this time, it's different. You've already done the work. You've identified problems, guessed meanings, considered the context.
So this final listen is about consolidation, reinforcement.
Exactly. Steps 1 to 4 were about processing, figuring things out. Step 5 is about cementing that understanding, building confidence.
Letting your brain hear those previously tricky parts again, but this time knowing what they mean.
It's like, okay, now I hear it clearly. It confirms your learning and gives your brain that final repetition.
It trains your ear for the future, too. You're more likely to recognize those words or phrases next time.
Definitely. So just to quickly recap Tefani's 5 steps. 1, find something interesting. 2, listen and mark timestamps. 3, listen again and guess. 4, figure out the context. 5, listen one more time.
It really is a solid, comprehensive plan. It takes you from broad listening to focused problem solving and back to overall comprehension.
It feels manageable, too. Not like you have to understand everything perfectly the first time.
No, it embraces the idea that understanding comes in layers through active engagement.
So a final thought for everyone listening. Based on this, what English content are you going to choose for your first deep dive using these steps. Maybe a YouTube channel you like or a podcast on a hobby.
Yeah, and maybe think beyond just understanding. How could getting better at listening unlock new interests, new information, new connections you couldn't access before?
That's a great point. It's not just about the language. It's about what the language gives you access to.
New worlds, really.
Absolutely. It's all part of that ongoing journey, that exploration, and hopefully these 5 steps provide a really practical map for that part of the journey. Still feeling like your English learning is stuck in neutral? Or maybe you find it's tough to build consistent practice into your busy day.
Yeah, trust me, you're in good company there.
Today on the Deep Dive, we're looking at practical, everyday ways to really, well, move the needle on your English skills.
Yeah.
We've dug into a lot of different experiences and ideas to bring you this.
That's right. Our goal today is to give you some truly actionable strategies, simple shifts you can make in your daily routine, no matter where you are on your learning journey or how much spare time you actually have. We want to help you see noticeable progress without feeling like you're adding another, overwhelming task to your list. We're talking about embedding English learning, not just tacking it on.
And forget about endless grammar drills, right?
Sure.
We're focusing on relatable situations and examples that can boost your listening and writing.
Yeah.
But honestly, the increased confidence you'll feel when speaking will be a fantastic side effect. Okay, let's unpack this. One thing that really stood out across our sources is the power of consistency over intensity. Think of it like this. A little bit of water every day keeps a plant thriving, much more so than one massive downpour every once in a while.
That's a great analogy. And what's interesting is why this works so well for language learning specifically. Regular, even really short exposure helps your brain gradually absorb and process the language. It's about creating a continuous kind of low-level engagement rather than those sporadic bursts that can be, hard to sustain.
Exactly. Take Natasha, for instance. She felt like she'd plateaued, right? So she made a small but significant change. Reading short articles or book chapters for just 10 to 15 minutes each morning.
Just 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. Wasn't a huge time commitment, but it's consistent. And guess what? Her vocabulary expanded, and she developed a better sort of intuitive understanding of how sentences are structured.
And if we think about why that's so effective, reading exposes you to new vocabulary and context. Your brain is incredibly good at inferring meaning from surrounding words and sentences.
Absolutely.
This contextual learning is often way more effective and memorable than just memorizing word lists. And choosing topics you genuinely find interesting, like current events or hobbies, makes this consistent reading much more enjoyable and, sustainable.
Definitely. Now, what about improving your listening when speaking opportunities are maybe limited? My friend Alex, he lives in a quieter area and has a really packed schedule.
Right.
His solution was to start writing short, daily paragraphs about his day, what he did, what he ate, even just small observations.
That's interesting. What's insightful about Alex's approach is that it provides a way to actively engage with the language even without someone to speak to, right? Daily writing, even just a few sentences, forces you to think about sentence construction and word choice. It's like a mental workout that strengthens your ability to express yourself in English.
Which then, supports your speaking down the line.
Absolutely. Finding a sustainable rhythm is just key. Speaking of incorporating English into your day, let's consider active practice. Natasha, she also found it helpful to speak out loud to herself during everyday activities.
Okay.
So while she's cooking, she describes the steps in English. Walking to the store, she talks about the weather or what she sees around her.
That might seem a little strange at first, talking to yourself.
Yeah, maybe a bit.
But it's actually a really effective way to practice forming sentences in real time without the pressure of an audience. It allows you to experiment with vocabulary and grammar in a low-stakes environment.
True.
The more you do it, the more natural it feels,
Yes.
and the quicker you can retrieve the words and phrases you need when you do have a conversation.
And for a slightly different angle on active practice, my friend Sarah started recording herself speaking English for just a few minutes each day.
Oh, okay.
Then she'd listen back to identify areas where she wanted to improve, maybe pronunciation, maybe a little grammar slip-up. And what Sarah discovered there is so important. Mistakes aren't failures, they're feedback. They really are.
That's it.
Recording yourself gives you a chance to hear yourself objectively, kind of the way other people hear you. It helps you pinpoint those areas for improvement that you might not even be aware of otherwise. It's a powerful tool for self-correction.
Exactly. Every stumble is a step forward.
Uh-uh.
Another really valuable act of practice is joining conversation groups.
Mm.
If meeting in person isn't feasible, there are loads of online communities.
Mm-hmm.
My friend David found an online English conversation group, and it made a huge difference in his confidence.
What makes those groups so effective is the opportunity for real-time interaction, isn't it? You're not just passively consuming the language, you're actively using it to communicate.
Right.
And because everyone in the group is also learning, there's usually a supportive atmosphere where you can practice without feeling self-conscious. That direct application really helps new vocabulary and phrases stick.
Definitely helps them stick. Now let's dig a little deeper into writing.
Mm.
My student Ben, he used to sort of avoid writing in English.
Yeah, common problem.
Yeah, but he challenged himself to start a daily English journal. He began with just a sentence or two, but pretty soon he was writing much more comfortably.
Den's experience really demonstrates how breaking down a seemingly daunting task into very small, manageable steps can lead to significant progress. Regular journaling, even brief entries, helps you become more comfortable with English sentence structure and allows you to solidify new vocabulary in your mind. Setting a short time goal, like just 5 minutes, can make it feel less intimidating to, get started.
5 minutes, yeah. And don't overlook the impact of those small moments throughout the day. Using vocabulary and grammar apps during short breaks like your commute or your lunch hour, that can really add up over time.
Oh, yeah.
Think of it like little bursts of exercise for your brain.
That's a great analogy, actually. Just a few minutes of focused practice with these apps can reinforce grammar rules and expand your vocabulary in easily digestible chunks. It's about leveraging those little pockets of downtime that might otherwise just go unused.
Totally. And this is crucial. Make sure you celebrate your progress.
Yes.
Whether you've learned a new word, finished an English book, or just had a conversation you felt good about, take a moment to acknowledge it.
Recognizing your achievements, no matter how small they seem, is absolutely vital for staying motivated. It reinforces that positive feedback loop and encourages you to keep going. It's about building momentum and, well, enjoying the journey.
So true. We came across some truly inspiring real-world examples of people integrating English into their daily lives. Take Daniel. He's a delivery driver.
Okay.
Didn't have a lot of free time, obviously. So he started narrating his routes in English, describing what he saw. And every day, he'd make a point of noting down just 3 new words he'd encountered.
Just 3.
Just 3. Looking up their meanings and trying to use them in sentences later.
What's so effective about Daniel's method is how he transformed his work environment into a kind of language learning lab, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
By consciously using English to describe his surroundings and actively seeking out new vocabulary, he was able to make significant progress without needing dedicated study sessions. That consistent, context-driven learning is incredibly powerful. We heard he learned over 200 new words in just 3 months.
Wow, 200 words. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Anna, a busy stay-at-home parent. She started writing her grocery lists in English
Simple but smart.
and using simple English phrases with her children for short periods each day.
Anna's experience really shows how adaptable language learning can be. By integrating it into her existing routines and even involving her family, she made it a natural and probably enjoyable part of her day. Those small, repeated interactions build familiarity and confidence over time.
Here's another simple but really effective technique. Practice asking and answering questions. Each morning, try asking yourself basic questions like, what are my plans for today? Or, how did I sleep? And then answer them in English, either in your head, out loud, or, maybe write it down.
This exercise is pretty fundamental because it trains your brain to actually think in English. By regularly engaging in this internal dialogue using common daily questions, you're building those neural pathways that make English thought more automatic, less translation needed.
Right, less translation. And it's not just about personal life. Michael, who works in an office, started something he called English lunch breaks.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
Yeah. He'd spend about 10 minutes reading a short English article related to his work, and then jot down 2 or 3 sentences summarizing the main points.
Michael's initiative is a great example of how you can leverage your professional life for language development. By focusing on vocabulary relevant to your field and practicing summarizing, you're not only improving your English skills, but also enhancing your understanding of your work in an international context. It's a very practical and efficient approach.
Super practical. Even if you don't have anyone to practice speaking with, you can create your own English speaking environment. Like when you're cooking, Describe your actions aloud. I'm chopping the vegetables.
Right. I'm adding the onions now.
Exactly. Doing laundry. I'm folding the shirts.
This technique creates a direct link between the English words and the physical actions, making the vocabulary more memorable and easier to recall when you need it in conversation. It's about making the language tangible in your daily life.
So true. My student James works in customer service at a grocery store.
Okay.
Used to feel anxious when helping English-speaking customers. So before his shifts, he started practicing common customer service phrases in front of a mirror. Can I help you find something? Would you like a receipt?
James's story highlights the power of targeted practice for specific situations. By rehearsing those frequently used phrases, he built his confidence and reduced his nervousness when interacting with English speakers in a real-world setting. That simple, consistent preparation made a significant difference for him, I bet.
Huge difference, he said. And remember, writing and speaking skills, they really support each other. Try this. Every evening before you go to bed, write down one thing that happened during your day. Just a few sentences in English.
This nightly reflection in writing not only strengthens your ability to form English sentences, but also helps you process your day and organize your thoughts, which can lead to clearer and more fluent speaking over time.
Also, consider keeping a dedicated word notebook. Whenever you encounter a new word or phrase, write it down along with a short example sentence.
Yeah, good idea.
Then make it a habit to review your notebook, say, once a week.
Creating a personal vocabulary notebook is a very active way to build your word power. The act of writing down the new words and reviewing them helps to solidify them in your memory. Emily, one of the learners we looked at, found that consistently using her word notebook helped her recall new vocabulary much more easily in conversations.
Yeah, that makes sense. Richard, who has a very demanding schedule, found a way to combine English learning with his household chores.
Okay, multitasking.
Right. While he was ironing, he would listen to English podcasts, and then afterwards, he'd try to write down and repeat any interesting sentences he remembered, adapting them to his own life.
Richard's approach beautifully illustrates how you can integrate different language skills, listening, writing, and speaking by sort of layering them onto existing activities. It's about finding those natural synergies within your daily routine to maximize your learning.
Exactly. So you see, building daily English practice doesn't have to feel like another obligation, does it?
Not at all.
It can be seamlessly woven into the things you're already doing, walking, cooking, writing lists, just spending time around the house. The key is to actively connect English with your everyday experiences.
Absolutely.
Now let's explore even more ways to do this. One effective way to build on repetition without it becoming, monotonous is to intentionally use new words in a variety of different sentences.
Well, okay, how so?
Well, for example, if you learn the word vibrant, try saying, the colors in the painting were vibrant. She had a vibrant personality. Or, the city had a vibrant nightlife.
Ah, I see. What's particularly useful about that technique is that it helps you understand the different ways a word can be used and its nuances and meaning, right?
Exactly.
By seeing and using the same word in multiple contexts, you deepen your understanding and expand your expressive capabilities in English.
Consider Lisa. She enjoys reading, but often felt overwhelmed by the number of unfamiliar words.
Yeah, that's common.
So she started reading children's books in English, underlining any new words, looking up their definitions, and then summarizing each chapter in her own simple English.
Lisa's strategy highlights the value of choosing learning materials that are appropriately challenging but not discouraging. And summarizing what you've read is a fantastic way to reinforce your comprehension and actively use the new vocabulary you've encountered in your own writing. It's a very practical way to bridge that gap between passive reading and active language production.
For improving both your listening and speaking, immersing yourself in natural spoken English is just crucial. Try making it a habit to listen to English podcasts or audiobooks during your daily commute, or while you're doing household tasks. If you hear a word or phrase that catches your ear, don't hesitate to pause and try to repeat it out loud.
Yeah, that active listening technique is incredibly beneficial for developing your pronunciation and improving your fluency. By consciously trying to mimic what you hear, you begin to internalize the natural rhythm and intonation of native English speech.
Right?
Tom, for example, he listens to tech podcasts while making breakfast, and he often repeats interesting phrases he hears. He finds it really helps his speaking sound more natural.
And if you specifically want to refine your pronunciation, a technique called shadowing can be very effective.
Shadowing, okay.
Yeah, you simply listen to a sentence spoken by a native English speaker and then immediately repeat it, trying to match their rhythm, intonation, and individual sounds as closely as you possibly can.
Shadowing is a powerful tool for fine-tuning your accent and enhancing your overall speaking skills. John, one of our listeners, has found significant improvement in his pronunciation by consistently practicing shadowing with short English video clips. It allows you to focus on the physical aspects of producing English sounds.
But remember, effective listening isn't just about mimicking sounds, is it?
No, absolutely not.
It's also about training yourself to listen for key information. Try listening to short English news reports or YouTube videos on topics that genuinely interest you, and then challenge yourself to write down the main points or summarize what you've heard in your own words.
Summarizing is an excellent exercise for simultaneously boosting your listening comprehension and your writing abilities. Sarah, the busy professional we mentioned, listens to English news while doing her morning chores and then uses what she's heard to inform some of her work-related writing. It's a very efficient way to integrate practice into her day. It's super efficient. Let's move on to expanding your conversational skills. A great way to sound more natural is to learn and start using some of the less common, everyday phrases that native speakers use for greetings and requests.
Okay, like what?
Well, instead of just a simple hello, maybe try incorporating phrases like, "What's up?" or "How's it going?" depending on the context, obviously.
Right, right. Learning and actively using these more informal, idiomatic phrases can make your spoken English sound more authentic and can also increase your confidence in social situations. Emma, who's been focusing on this, finds that using a variety of greetings makes her conversations feel more natural and engaging.
You don't need to rely solely on textbooks for learning either. Everyday objects around your home can become valuable learning tools. Try putting English labels on common household items: the refrigerator, the table, the lamp. Ah, labeling. Yes, that creates a constant visual connection between the object and its English name, which can significantly aid vocabulary acquisition. Mark, who recently moved to an English-speaking country, labeled everything in his apartment and found it to be a surprisingly effective way to build his everyday vocabulary.
Simple but effective. Another simple yet effective practice is to write short notes to yourself in English. Things like reminders, your to-do list for the day, or even just a quick thought on a sticky note.
Writing short notes integrates English into your daily routines in a really practical way. It reinforces your understanding of basic vocabulary and sentence structures, and as David discovered, it can make English feel like a more natural part of your environment, less like a foreign thing.
Absolutely. And of course, there's really no substitute for actually speaking with other people.
True.
Try not to let the fear of making mistakes hold you back. Everyone makes mistakes when learning a new language. It's part of it.
Absolutely essential part.
Make an effort to speak with friends, family members who are also learning, or, online language exchange partners.
Overcoming that fear of making mistakes is such a crucial step in language learning. Every time you speak, you're getting valuable practice and building your confidence. Tom and his wife, who are both learning English, have a designated time each evening where they only speak to each other in English.
Oh, nice.
Which they find really helps them both improve.
That's a great idea. Let's really delve into making English a truly natural part of your life now. This is about actively learning by consciously using English while you're performing everyday tasks.
Right.
If you're cooking, for example, narrate what you're doing in English. Now I'm stewing the sauce, or I need to add some more salt.
This active use of English creates a strong cognitive link between the language and the real-world actions, making the vocabulary more memorable and readily accessible when you need to use it in conversation. Carla, who has been doing this while cooking, has even found that her husband and children are starting to pick up some English phrases as well. C. Bonus learning. Doing household chores. Try describing what you're doing in English. I'm wiping down the kitchen counters. Peter, the dragger, makes a point of repeating simple English phrases to himself while he's washing his car.
These small, consistent actions help to solidify your understanding and build your active vocabulary related to everyday activities. Peter has noticed a real improvement in his ability to describe things around his house and car in English just from doing that.
Even during something as routine as your commute, you can practice. If you walk or take public transport, try describing what you see around you in English: the buildings, the people, the weather. Hannah, who works in a shop, makes this a part of her walk to work each morning.
Narrating your surroundings, even silently to yourself, helps your brain create practical, real-world connections to the English language. Hannah finds that this practice has increased her confidence when speaking with English-speaking customers at her job. It makes sense. Yeah, totally. Even if you don't have a speaking partner readily available, you can still have conversations in English. Try asking yourself questions about your day or your plans, and then answering them in English, either out loud or just in your head.
Mm.
James, the guy from the grocery store, he found it helpful to record short voice notes to himself in English, talking about his day, and then listening back to check his grammar and pronunciation.
Engaging in self-talk in English and even recording yourself are valuable techniques for improving your speaking and self-correction skills, even when you don't have someone else to converse with. James's experience shows how this independent practice can lead to noticeable improvements.
If you do have someone else who is also learning English, even dedicating just 10 minutes after dinner to speaking only in English, like Andrew and Lisa do, that can make a significant difference over time.
Definitely. Those short, regular conversations with a learning partner provide a supportive environment for practice, allow for mutual learning and gentle correction, and help build confidence in speaking with others.
Don't underestimate the power of regular writing to improve your overall fluency either. Try keeping a small English diary or journal where you write just 5 to 10 sentences about your day.
Daily journaling, even in short bursts like that, helps your mind become more accustomed to forming English sentences, which can contribute to smoother and more fluent speaking down the line. Olivia, who is a nurse, has found that her regular English journaling has improved her ability to communicate with English-speaking patients.
That's a direct benefit. Another great technique is to listen to short English stories and then try to retell them in your own words, either to yourself or maybe to someone else.
Retelling stories, like Jacob, a security guard, does with his colleagues, is an excellent way to improve both your listening comprehension and your speaking skills without needing formal instruction. It helps you internalize vocabulary and practice using grammar in a natural conversational way.
Setting small, achievable daily goals can also be a great motivator. For example, you could aim to learn, say, 5 new English words each day, or just to have one short conversation with someone in English.
Yep.
Rebecca, who is a teacher, uses a simple checklist to track her daily English practice.
Having these small daily goals provides that crucial sense of accomplishment and helps to build momentum and consistency in your learning. Rebecca's checklist approach shows how breaking down your practice into manageable steps can lead to sustained effort.
And remember why you're learning English in the first place, right? Connect it to your broader life goals, whether it's for better communication, career advancement, or maybe just more enjoyable travel experiences.
Absolutely. When you connect your language learning to meaningful personal goals, it significantly increases your motivation and makes the process much more enjoyable and sustainable. It transforms English learning from a chore into a tool for achieving your aspirations.
So true. Let's shift our focus slightly now to the idea of thinking in English.
Okay, the holy grail for some learners.
Maybe. Throughout your day, try to consciously think simple thoughts in English. When you wake up, think, it's morning. While you're making breakfast, think, I'm making coffee. Stephen, who is a baker, often talks himself through his recipes in English.
Training your brain to think directly in English, even with simple phrases like that, reduces your reliance on mental translation and makes your English usage more automatic and fluent. Stephen's example shows how easily this can be integrated into even routine tasks.
Another effective way to cultivate thinking in English is to make a habit of describing your surroundings in English, even if it's just mentally.
Right.
For example, while you're walking down the street or waiting in line, try to silently describe what you see around you. Rachel, who enjoys shopping, often does this as she browses in stores.
That mental exercise reinforces your vocabulary related to everyday objects and situations and builds your confidence in using English in real-world contexts. It's a subtle but powerful way to strengthen your connection to the language.
Now, let's refine our approach to vocabulary acquisition a bit. Instead of trying to memorize long lists of words, which rarely works long-term.
Right. Flashcards everywhere.
Yeah. Try focusing on learning a smaller number of new words, maybe 5 to 10 each week, and then actively making an effort to use those words throughout your day. You could even create a word of the day note for yourself. Michael, a taxi driver, shared how he once focused on just one word, tired, and made a conscious effort to use it in different contexts with his passengers throughout the day.
That focused approach to vocabulary building helps to ensure that you not only learn new words, but also actively integrate them into your working vocabulary. Michael's taxi driver example beautifully illustrates how even focusing on a single word can lead to a deeper understanding of its usage and nuances. It really cements it.
Consider incorporating English into your moments of personal reflection, too. If you meditate or pray, perhaps try doing so in English, expressing your gratitude or your thoughts in the language you're learning.
Interesting.
Emma, the teacher, finds this a meaningful way to connect with the language on a deeper level before bed.
Connecting English to your emotions and personal beliefs, as Emma does, can make the language feel more personal and can also improve your fluency in expressing your feelings and thoughts in English. It creates a more profound and meaningful connection to the language.
To further enhance your listening skills, try to listen to English audio at a level that you find challenging but not, completely overwhelming.
Finding that sweet spot.
Exactly. As you listen, make a point of noting down any interesting or new phrases that stand out to you. John, who listens to English podcasts during his lunch break, often writes down new phrases he hears and then tries to use them later in the day.
This active engagement with the audio helps to improve your pronunciation, your understanding of natural rhythm and intonation, and ultimately your confidence in speaking. John finds that actively trying to use the new phrases he's noted down helps them stick and makes his own speech sound more natural.
If you have family members who are also interested in learning English, try to involve them in your practice. You could designate a specific time each week, like David and Sarah's Sunday morning English conversation, where you only speak English to each other.
Practicing with family creates a comfortable and supportive environment for building your speaking skills. As David and Sarah have found, it can also be a fun way for children to be passively exposed to the language, just picking things up naturally.
You might also find it beneficial to try teaching someone else basic English. Even explaining simple grammar rules or vocabulary to another learner, like Julie does with her younger cousin, can reinforce your own understanding through the act of explanation and active recall.
Exactly. The act of teaching really solidifies your own knowledge. When you have to explain something clearly, you need to have a really clear understanding of it yourself, which strengthens your own grasp of the language.
Make a conscious effort to practice basic communication skills regularly. For example, you could have a weekly English question and answer session with a neighbor, like Daniel does, even just 5 minutes.
This kind of regular practice with simple, everyday interactions is a fantastic way to gradually improve your conversational fluency and build confidence in your ability to communicate effectively in English. Small steps.
Even thinking about and discussing your future plans in English can be valuable practice. Sophia makes it a habit to write her daily to-do list in English,
Oh, that's clever.
which helps her practice using future tense and planning her sentences in English ahead of time.
That kind of practical application of English helps you become more comfortable expressing future actions and intentions, which is obviously a crucial aspect of everyday communication.
Let's just quickly look at some more examples of integrating English into routine activities.
Right.
Peter, the security guard we mentioned, he also makes a point of describing his cleaning actions at work in English.
Right.
Rebecca, the homemaker, often speaks in simple English to her children while she's cooking, as we said.
These natural integrations of the language into your daily routines, as Peter and Rebecca demonstrate, help you build vocabulary related to those specific activities and just make the language a more organic part of your life.
Thomas, the delivery driver, makes it a practice to softly describe his surroundings in English as he's driving his route.
That continuous low-pressure practice helps to improve focus and reinforce vocabulary related to the world around you, almost like a running commentary.
Jenny, who works in a shop, has found it helpful to write down her feelings in English at the end of each day.
Building your vocabulary for expressing emotions in English, as Jenny is doing, can lead to clearer and more natural communication with others, especially maybe in customer service roles where empathy is key.
Make use of short written communication opportunities, like Mark's habit of writing just 5 sentences about his day in English before going to sleep.
Short, regular writing practice like that helps to improve your recall of words for speaking and enhances your overall writing ability bit by bit.
Try challenging yourself with focused practice sessions too. Samantha and her husband have a habit of choosing a daily topic and then having a 5 to 10 minute conversation about it entirely in English.
That kind of structured learning on various subjects increases your confidence in speaking on a wider range of topics and helps you expand your vocabulary in specific areas you might not otherwise touch upon.
Leverage the power of self-assessment by regularly recording yourself speaking English, like Ben does with short messages.
Self-recording provides that valuable opportunity for self-correction, leading to improved clarity, fluency, and pronunciation over time. You're your own coach, in a way.
Enhance your internal dialogue in English by making it a habit to ask yourself questions in English throughout the day and then answering them, like Nathan does while he's gardening.
This trains your brain for the natural question and answer flow of English conversation and helps to make English thought more automatic, less effortful.
Consider fostering community-based practice by creating or joining small English language groups, like George and Lisa did with another couple they knew.
Supportive learning environments, like small language groups, provide really valuable opportunities for practice and shared learning, and they can also help build your confidence significantly. Less intimidating than a big class, maybe.
Don't forget the simple effectiveness of visual aids. Rachel found that labeling items around her house was a surprisingly helpful way to learn new vocabulary, as Mark did too.
Visual association through labeling can be a very effective way to aid memory and word recognition. Just seeing the word constantly reinforces it.
And finally, connect English to your personal beliefs and values if that resonates. Consider using English when you're reflecting on your faith or writing about things that are important to you personally.
Making that kind of personal connection to the language can make self-expression more meaningful and can also improve your fluency when discussing deeper or more personal topics in English.
So as we've explored through all these diverse examples, the core principle really boils down to this. Making English a natural and consistent part of your everyday life through small, manageable actions is the most effective and sustainable path to fluency and confidence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about grand gestures or hours of intense study, but about weaving the language into the fabric of your daily routine. Finding those simple, enjoyable ways to consistently engage with English that fit seamlessly into your existing life.
So the key takeaway really is that you don't need to carve out huge chunks of time or drastically change your life to improve your English. It's about finding those little moments and making them count.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? From incorporating reading and listening into your commute to speaking to yourself during chores and using short writing exercises to solidify your learning.
And the real magic happens with consistency. Even small amounts of regular practice across reading, listening, speaking, and writing will compound over time and lead to significant progress. You'll notice it.
We really encourage you to experiment with the various methods we've discussed, whether it's labeling your household items, using language learning apps during your breaks, joining an online conversation group, or simply trying to think a few thoughts in English each day. Find what resonates with your lifestyle and interests, what actually works for you.
Because as you integrate these small daily habits, you'll not only see real improvements in your English skills, but also experience a genuine boost in your confidence.
So now that you have these tools and ideas, maybe consider how even just one or two of these small changes could subtly reshape your daily routine and, more importantly, your journey towards mastering English.
What's one simple English integrated activity you could realistically try starting today?